So today I want to talk about expectations for Edinburgh Marathon. So it's a week away tomorrow, and the last few marathon performances have been pretty underwhelming because I think I've just been unrealistic with expectations. So what have I learned? How am I preparing for this one? And what are my expectations? Keep on watching, keep on listening. This is relevant to you. Welcome back to consecutive day 1812 of a diary of a runpreneur. And today's episode is all about preparations for Edinburgh Marathon, which is about 8 days away. So all the training's pretty much been done. What are my expectations? Just got a car coming past me, so just bear with me a second. Oh, this car comes past me. Before we get started though, don't forget this vlog is part of a fundraiser of saving the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultra marathon of run vlogging on consecutive days distance of a lap of the world. Barefoot style, the more people we get in front of, more money we raise, more children's lives we save, which is why I do this every single day. So back to the topic at hand. So Edinburgh Marathon, 8 days away. So this is probably the last run that's really gonna kind of count in terms of my 8-week training block, and the next 7 days are gonna be just ticking over mileage really, just to keep the legs loose, just so I'm as fresh as I can be for start day. Now, the last couple of marathons I've done, I'm just trying to think back. I did Manchester Marathon about a month ago, underwhelming result. I did Loch Ness Marathon in, I think end of September, underwhelming result. And I don't think I did a marathon in the spring of that year. I think the previous one was the year before that was Yorkshire Marathon, which was a personal best at 3 hours 24 minutes and 48 seconds. So how can I go from PB a year and a half ago to the next couple of marathons being so underwhelming? Well, clearly I've got things wrong. That's the reality. I mean, there are, I suppose, occasions where stuff just goes wrong on the day, and you have to factor those in as well. But I think for me, in the last two performances, there's been a number of things that have gone wrong. And what am I planning to do to put those wrongs right? Well, the first thing that I kind of notice is my unrealistic expectations. So I train to the Tanda training method, which is all based along weekly mileage, weekly average pace for the previous kind of 9 weeks prior to a marathon, an 8-week block, and then you've got the week before the marathon, which is kind of just tapering down week. That 8-week block is the data that ascertains your race day performance. So based on the argument being that you can do a load of mileage every week at a slow pace and be fit as somebody who does very little mileage but at a crazily fast pace. So it gives you a kind of a marathon race prediction time. And every time I've run correctly and a decent strategy and I've trained to Tanda, I've been within 2 minutes of its prediction finish time. So, and I've done that probably 5 or 6 times. So it works, and I'm a proven concept for that. So why do I look at that data and think that I can beat it? It's just not possible. It's based on kind of my fitness levels and my historic training data. So the first thing we do is take that data seriously. Now, I'd love to say I'm going to go to Edinburgh and hit a PB, but my Tanda race data or training data suggests that I'm basically in line for a 3 hour 30 minute finish. So I'm not fit enough for PB. If I try and push that extra pace, it's highly likely I'm going to hit the wall and fail. And that's what I've done in the past. I've had a time that's been predicted for me and I've tried to beat it significantly when I'm not fit enough to do so. So the data suggests 3 hours and 30 minutes, almost bang on. So I'm going to try, as a best case scenario, to come in at 3 hours 29 something. So within kind of a minute of that target time, just under it if I can. Worst case, if I kind of come in under 3:40, it's not the end of the world. Okay, if I hit 3 hours and 30 something, it's not the end of the world. But I think the realistic, excuse me, fly flew into my mouth. Realistic finish sweet spot is going to be somewhere between kind of 3 hours and 28 minutes and 3 hours and 32. So I think that window is going to be where, because I think the prediction time I've normally been within 2 minutes of it. More often than not, I'm within a minute of it, but I think 2 minutes either side is a sensible window. So, you know, maybe I can go slightly quicker and come in at 3 hours 28 something, or maybe I go a little bit slower and come in at 3 hours 32, which is about where my fitness is. If it's particularly hot or conditions aren't favourable, maybe I drop down to 3:35 or even 3:39 maybe. So the first thing I'm going to do is listen to the data, and my expectations are very clearly tapered. The next one is I've had issues with blistering over the past 3 marathons. I think Loch Ness, well, the Yorkshire Marathon was really bad. I had a significantly bad blistering injury, and Loch Ness, it was also really, really bad. Not quite to the level of Yorkshire, but still bad enough. I mean, we're talking a couple of months recovery from a severe blistering. So I think Yorkshire, it was more like 3 months recovery. So blistering issues are key. Now, at Manchester, I used some silicone sheets. They worked to a degree. I had much less blistering issues, but still some, because I didn't have the silicone sheets that I was using weren't fastened effectively enough. So this week, I'm going to be going out and be testing these different silicone sheets to try and get something that I can be comfortable and confident in when I get to marathon start day. I was using something new for the very first time. Even though I was familiar with silicone sheets, I wasn't familiar with the actual brand I was using when I went into race day in Manchester, and that ultimately had an impact. So I'm not going to try anything new. I also tried some new kind of energy blocks, and yeah, never used them before. So again, silly. I'm going to go back to the tried and tested methods that I used for Yorkshire Marathon when I did my PB, which was a combination of Cis gels, Science in Sport gels, and I think they're called Dexter energy tablets, and I was taking 2 of them in replacement of an energy block. They're very powdery and dry, but they seem to work pretty well for me. So I'm going to go back to those rather than the kind of gummy, chewy energy blocks. So that's going to be really, really important to go back to what I know. And the next one, like I said, is look at the conditions and adjust accordingly in terms of target times. Now, perfect marathon temperature is 8 to 12 degrees. That's perfect. If you're running in 8 to 12 degrees temperature, you've got a great chance of a personal best. Obviously, you need to factor in kind of wind as well, how strong the winds. If you're running into headwinds, again, if there's a lot of elevation, that's other kind of elements you need to factor in. Just taper expectations. So I haven't looked at the forecast for Edinburgh yet, but I will be in the week. I'm hoping it's going to be relatively cool. I'm up in Scotland, it's normally cool, but I was in Manchester, which is much cooler than where I am down in Cambridge, and yeah, that was kind of 28 degrees on the track, which was pretty horrendous. So if it is higher than I'm expecting, I'll taper my target finishing time by about 5 minutes. I think that's a sensible play, and I'll run slower to try and keep my heart rate lower, keep my body temperature and heart rate under control, certainly in excessive heat. So that's going to be key. But yeah, I think if I take those things, I have a relatively solid carb loading strategy and fueling strategy pre-race in terms of 2 days before and the morning of the race. So I'm not going to change anything there. That's never really, I don't think, been the cause of poor performance. I think it's stuff that I predominantly do in terms of my mental strategy or trying out new stuff on the day, because marathon running is incredibly psychological. If you have something, even if it's potentially working, but if you've never used it before, you haven't got confidence in it, it plays on your mind. If things aren't going right, you're kind of arguing in your mind, is it because of this? Is it because of that? And that's pretty key. So I don't want to have any of those thoughts or those elements of doubt. So what would a good marathon be for me? Edinburgh Marathon. Will it be anything between 3:28 and 3:32 as a finishing time? I think that would be a success. If I come through it with minimal blistering issues, that would be, again, a massive success. And if I can control my race strategy to be able to be strong at the finish, because the last couple I've done are either due to blistering injuries or overheating and hitting the wall, I've been resorted to the last kind of 10k or kind of 8k or so has been very much on kind of survival mode, limp running, kind of wall running if you like. And I want to try and be fresh at 20 miles, not fresh but in good shape at 20 miles, to be able to actually run the last 10k in a relatively competitive fashion. So that's kind of where I am. That's kind of where I'm going to be kind of aiming for. I think the learnings for my diary for today is, when you're a week out from a marathon, you can't change anything. You've done the training. You're either fit for your time or you're not. I think understanding how fit you are is really, really important. That's where kind of Tanda, kind of race predictor, is really, really useful. You can punch in your data and it'll give you the results. If you use Strava, it will link in directly and give you your results. That would be a really good way to understand expectations. And secondly, have everything tested out before the day. Don't try anything new on the day. Hugely important. Obviously, use realistic expectations from your Tanda race predictions is really, really important. And run a sensible strategy. Run to what your fitness level suggests you can run to. Don't try and outperform it, because it's going to come back and bite you. And finally, taper your expectations if conditions are unfavourable. If it's too hot, then taper your expectations. If it's too windy, taper your expectations. If it's too much elevation, taper your expectations. And I think, looking at things and making a sensible adjustment. If you're not sure how to adjust, just use AI or something and ask the question, this is how fit I am. This is my target prediction time. If the temperature is 20 degrees, how should that affect my performance? Or if the elevation is 1,000 meters of elevation over the course of the marathon, how should that affect my target prediction time? And it will tell you a really kind of logical way to adjust your target time, and then taper for that. But I think one of the key things for me is expectations, and letting the data tell you and dictate and direct you in the right race strategy. I think if you do that and not try anything new, I think you give yourself the best chance. So I hope that's useful. Any questions or comments, drop me a line. Anything relevant, I will respond to. Do remember though, if you believe in my mission of saving the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultramarathon of run vlogging on consecutive days, a distance of a lap of the world, barefoot style, then do give this a subscribe, share, like and comment. More people we get in front of, more money we raise, more children's lives we save, which is why I do this every single day. Thank you as always. Stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you again tomorrow.